Hello everybody, I hope you're all feeling calm and collected and well revised for tomorrow's paper 1 exam. Just thought I'd post a mini video really just with some last minute tips and tricks for the paper 1 exam tomorrow. Some of them you'll probably already know about, there might be a couple in there that are new to you and hopefully they will help you prepare and be ready to take on that exam tomorrow. Okay, so my number one tip is read the questions first, okay? I would do this before you even attempt to read the extract. And I suggest this to all my students, and I'm sure your teachers do as well, because then when you're reading through the extract, you know what you're looking for. So make sure you read through all of the questions 1, 2, 4, all the way through. Make sure you underline or highlight the keywords in the questions themselves, and then you read the extract. So that's my number one tip. Okay, my next tip is to take 4 different coloured highlighters or pens in with you. So this is a new thing that we've trialled at our school this year with our students, and the reason why we are doing it is because it helps you focus on which quotations you require for each question. So what you need to do is highlight or underline each of the questions in your question booklet in a different colour, okay? And then when you read through your extract, any relevant quotes which are relevant to whichever question it is, you highlight or underline in that particular colour. So it might be that you chose a pink highlighter for question 1. So anything that answers question 1 you highlight in pink. And that just helps focus your attention with regards to those quotations for each of the questions. Okay, now the one thing I will have to say and make clear to you is whilst you are allowed to highlight and underline the extract itself and the questions, you must not highlight any of your answer at all, okay? And the reason is because your answer booklets are scanned in and sent to the examiners to mark. And when they scan them through, the highlighter can sometimes block out what you've written. So only highlight the extract and the questions themselves, okay? Right, my tip number 3 is to draw boxes around the specific line numbers relevant to the questions. So, for example, question 1 will say, looking at lines, say 1 to 10, list 4 things. So make sure that you stay true to that question and you don't take any answers from outside of those lines. The way it works is if you find an answer to the question but it falls outside of the line numbers specified in the question, unfortunately the examiner cannot give you marks for those. So just putting a little box around the line numbers, or even little stars or exclamation marks, whatever you want to do, just to highlight that section. Just make sure that it's clear that that section relates to the specific question you are answering. Right, my tip number 4 relates to question number 3, which is the structure one. Now, what I tell my students to do is to look at the extract and to roughly split that extract into 3 and to physically do that. So either draw lines or, again, boxes around specific sections so that you have a beginning, a middle and an end. And then down the side, just write 1 or 2 words about what the writer focuses on at that point, okay? It's likely that there will be either a rise in the tension or a fall in the tension after a climactic point, okay? So just look for your structural features, but just focus on what is the writer really going into detail about at that particular point. So by splitting your extract into 3 sections, you've immediately got your 3 paragraphs for your answer for question 3. Okay, tip number 5 relates to question number 4. Okay, and obviously this question asks you to state whether you agree or disagree with a statement. Now, I always tell my students that it's much easier to agree with that statement, but more perceptive comments and higher ability candidates will be able to find alternative viewpoints. So if you can find a disagree as well, then that shows the examiner that you've considered both sides of the argument. Now, when you're reading through initially in your 10 minutes reading time, you can use smiley and sad faces if you find any quotations that either agree or disagree with those points. Again, that just helps direct your focus when it comes to writing your answer for question 4. Now, you can allow yourself 5 minutes planning time for question 4. So obviously your smiling sad faces will help you plan your answer for that question. Okay, my tip number 6 is to be inspired by what you've read. So when it comes to answering question 5, which is a writing to describe or narrate question, look at what you've read in the extract you've been given, okay? Now, you mustn't copy phrases from what you've read from the text itself, because that is plagiarism. But what you can use is some of the ideas. So if they use a really interesting simile, a metaphor or personification, you can shake those up a little bit and use those within your writing. What's also interesting is to look at how they've structured their extract. So is there an interesting structural feature, such as a flashback or flash forward? Have they used a circular structure? Have they really focused on the setting at that particular point? Okay, so look at how they have written their that section of text, and steal some of the ideas, because the examiner has chosen that writer for a certain reason. Because they're good. So look at what they've written and use those tips and tricks that they've used in their writing. Okay, and finally, this is really, really important. Tip number 7 is timing. Make sure you stick to the timings. Even if you feel you haven't written enough for that particular question, but you have used your time for it, move on and then see if you can come back and add some more afterwards, okay? This is crucial. You've got to remember that your section B section, okay, that part of the exam is worth half of the marks. So you must allow enough time to, really devote your attention to that section, that writing. Now, the timings I advise my students to use are this. So to allow 10 minutes reading time for section A, spend 5 minutes maximum on question 1, 10 minutes maximum on question 2, 10 minutes for question 3, and 25 minutes, including 5 minutes planning time for question 4. And then that should give you your full 45 minutes for your section B. So move on if you have used that time, but leave a bit of space in your answer booklet. So perhaps leave, half a side space in order to then come back to it, and you can add in detail if you've got time. So make sure you leave some space for each of the questions, okay? Make sure as well that you write the number to the question in your margin. I think, if I remember rightly, that obviously the answer booklet actually lists the questions in it, okay? So that should be easy enough, okay? But if you've got an additional answer booklet that you are using, make sure you are clear and explicit and write down the question number that you are answering in the margin of your additional answer booklet as well. Okay, so those are my top 7 tips for tomorrow's exam, okay? I wish you the very, very best of luck. I'm sure it will go well, okay? Fingers crossed. Stay tuned over the course of the week for some more videos for paper 2, which is Friday, and please let me know how it goes, okay? You can tweet me at AQA Exams or leave a comment in the comment box. I really, really like to know how the exams go. It's lovely to hear positive feedback. Just remember, it's a couple of hours less than that, and then you can tick that one off your list, okay? Wishing you the very best of luck. Speak to you soon.